Welcome to another installment of Deconstructing Babylon, where we discern the signs and symbols of the mystery religion of Hollywood Babylon. I'm the Discerning Clerk, and I use a biblical framework to deconstruct my favorite movies from the 90s.
Noticed your eyeglasses. They don't have any lenses in them.
They're my dad's. The lenses hurt my eyes.
I've spoken a few times about how frustrating and slow it has been growing this channel, and I suppose I'm not alone, but it feels lonely. I'm sure there are thousands of channels that have been abandoned just because the growth is so slow. I'm really trying to improve my content and be consistent in uploading weekly. Perhaps it really is YouTube not recommending my videos to new viewers, but there are much larger channels than mine who do speak to the same niche material. So, I don't know. And that's what's frustrating, I guess. I'm finally through my first full read-through of the Bible, and I came across a verse in the first epistle written by John. We are of God. He who knows God hears us. He who is not of God does not hear us. By this we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. Mine is not the only voice speaking truth in this space. There are louder voices. And we who are speaking truth are only heard by those who know and love God and are called by his name. For that reason, I'm extremely grateful for the small yet faithful audience I do have. You must know God if you hear the truth I speak. And I will continue to speak and put out content as long as I can, God willing. And remember that Yahweh is greater than YouTube, greater than the algorithm, greater than us all. And he will reveal this truth to people he has chosen, which is you watching, as it turns out. All right, let's get into why we're here today. As you know, if you clicked on this video, we are deconstructing Jurassic Park. While it has spawned numerous sequels, series, escalations, and remakes, the very first one is an adaptation of a novel by Michael Crichton. It obviously was and is insanely popular, very well received by critics and moviegoers alike, and has become a cult classic in its own right. The Video Movie Guide rates it 4 stars and says this: adapted from the novel by Michael Crichton, this is director Steven Spielberg's triumphant return to his filmmaking roots, a la Duel and Jaws. Dinosaurs are genetically recreated to populate the ultimate theme park, and a special few, scientists and children, are allowed a sneak preview. Awe and wonder soon turns to terror as the creatures break out of their confines and go on a rampage. It's King Kong to the max. Rated PG-13. I will reserve my opinion of dinosaurs until the end, but let me just say that as a Christian, I have heard a gamut of opinions, conspiracies, and scientific thought on the subject. I just want you to remember how hard the world has to work to convince you of these giant, so-called prehistoric beasts. So much so, Hollywood Babylon has to have their say. So let's see what we see in Jurassic Park. The movie starts immediately with branches and bushes moving ominously as a near army of armed workers in hard hats wait nervously. A large vehicle comes into view, and inside the cargo box is a vicious dinosaur. When they try to safely load the beast into its enclosure, something goes wrong, and an employee is captured and killed. Their team works to subdue the beast and save their colleague, but to no avail. We cut to a man in a suit who sticks out like a sore thumb in the deep jungle of the Dominican Republic.
We are facing a $20 million lawsuit by the family of that worker, and you...
Oh, he's a lawyer. Down in the mines, an important discovery is made. A mosquito embedded and preserved in amber. This is the entire inspiration for the deadly amusement park. Next, we go to an archaeological dig, where several people work carefully to reveal ancient bones. We meet our main couple, Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ellie Sattler. The team is working with new technology, shooting radar into the earth to reveal images of fossils buried deep underground.
Well, maybe dinosaurs have more in common with present-day birds than they do with reptiles.
Dr. Grant goes on to explain the similarities, including the name raptor, meaning bird of prey. After a brief talk between the doctors about having their own baby, a helicopter arrives and ruins everything. Inside Dr. Grant's trailer is John Hammond, billionaire and philanthropist and creator of Jurassic Park.
Who in God's name do you think you are?
John Hammond.
John is also the main investor for the dig these two are on. He basically signs their paychecks, and now he needs their help at his park. Well, their opinion and sign-off, really, to satisfy other lawyers and investors of the controversial park that has already killed at least one person.
It's right up your alley.
We meet the tragic and shady computer hacker Dennis Nedry. He meets with another man to sell embryo samples of the dinosaur species that Hammond has created, maybe to create some competition in the field, or maybe to get evidence of John's deadly hubris.
Don't get cheap on me, Dodson. That was Hammond's mistake.
The scientists head to Costa Rica, where the park is being built, and they aren't alone. Along for the ride is the lawyer and mathematician Dr. Ian Malcolm, and he specializes in the study of chaos, which I didn't realize was a mathematical field one could study.
You've heard of chaos theory?
No.
No, nonlinear equations?
Chaos is only mentioned in the Bible in certain translations, particularly the New Living Translation. I've always understood chaos to be a tactic of the enemy and something used by the secret societies. They create chaos so they may bring order from it. The aircraft quickly descends into a deep valley, and they arrive at Jurassic Park.
Let's get something straight, John. This is not a weekend excursion. This is a serious investigation of the stability of the island.
But for the paleontologists, they see something remarkable. Walking, roaring dinosaurs in the flesh.
It's a dinosaur.
And they don't just have herbivores. John tells them he also has a T-Rex. And we already know they have deadly velociraptors, which happens to fascinate Dr. Grant especially. John brings his guests to the visitor center and lab to explain exactly how he created these prehistoric beasts. Incidentally, I hate the word prehistoric because what comes before history? Isn't it all considered historic? It makes it seem made up. It would be like saying pre-creation. But that's the word they use, so I will use it hesitantly and sparingly.
100 million years ago, there were mosquitoes, just like today. And just like today, they fed on the blood of animals, even dinosaurs.
This animated retelling of how scientists created the hybrid DNA of the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park using the amphibian DNA of a toad. But I hope they use the DNA of a turkey or a bird of prey for the bird-like carnivores as described previously by Dr. Grant. They quickly answer that question when Drs. Grant and Sattler go into the lab and we meet geneticist Dr. Henry Wu, who tells them they use ostrich eggs to incubate and hatch the babies. When Dr. Malcolm questions them about dinos born in the wild, Dr. Wu tells them that every dinosaur is bred to be female and that there are no males in the park.
You're implying that a group composed entirely of female animals will breed?
No, I'm simply saying that life finds a way.
The group goes out to see the adult raptors for their feeding time, and we meet the game warden, Robert Muldoon, who was present in the beginning when the guard was killed by the same animal. He explains how intelligent this species is, problem-solving, and strategic. When they all sit down to lunch, no one has much of an appetite, and they each take turns sharing their valid concerns with John, but he doesn't want to hear it.
I don't believe it. You're meant to come down here and defend me against these characters, and the only one I've got on my side is the blood-sucking lawyer.
John has clearly geared his park towards children for their education and amazement of these extinct beasts. And part of this sneak peek includes his own grandchildren, Tim and Lex. This is a tactic used by Hollywood Babylon all the time. When they include even one character played by a child, it automatically appeals to a child audience. Such is the case even with this film.
She said I should ride with you because it'd be good for you.
Who else forgot Samuel L. Jackson was in this? I know I heard his voice on the intercom in an earlier scene, but I'm still surprised when his character Ray Arnold shows up.
Hold on to your butts.
The tour officially starts, and the group ride in unmanned electric vehicles, as if we're actually seeing the future plans for technology. John stays behind from the tour, leaving the care and supervision of his own grandchildren to near strangers. But he's watching them on CCTV, in the vehicles, and throughout the park. This theme park is still in beta testing, and this is truly their first trial run with a live audience. The first attraction is a dud, as the Dilophosaurus aren't coming by the track to be seen. They come to the Tyrannosaur exhibit, and it's another no-show.
God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs.
See, I'm not so sure God created dinosaurs, but I'm getting ahead of myself. They try to coax the T-Rex to the fence with a goat.
He's gonna eat the goat? Excellent.
The bait doesn't work, and the tour moves on.
Now eventually you do plan to have dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour, right?
Dr. Grant takes matters into his own hands when he jumps out of the vehicle attached to a track, and Ellie follows close behind. Soon the whole group comes across a sick Triceratops.
What are her symptoms?
Ellie tries to determine what is making this dino sick, even digging in the excrement. Unfortunately, we never get more of this storyline or the reason why the Triceratops is sick.
You will remember to wash your hands before you eat anything.
A storm is blowing in, so the tour is postponed. And Dennis still has his end of the deal to uphold, stealing embryos to sell to a competitor. Part of Dennis's scheme is to unlock all the security doors, but not just in the lab and visitor center. Also happens to shut down the electric vehicles and deactivate the electric fences containing all the dangerous carnivores.
Fences are failing all over the park.
Which brings us to one of the most iconic scenes in cinematic history. I actually say that a fair amount. Anyway, it's the one that sticks out in my memory. The T-Rex breaking out of her enclosure and descending on the children in a vehicle. Dr. Grant and Ian distract the beast from attacking the children, and the lawyer becomes the second casualty of the film. Let me tell you that seeing this movie in the theater, people actually cheered and laughed when this character was devoured by the T-Rex. Perhaps relieved because it wasn't one of our beloved characters.
Don't move! Can't see us if we don't move.
Back at the visitor center, Ray works diligently to bring the park back online, but he can't bypass Dennis's firewalls. Meanwhile, Dennis is still trying to get the samples he stole out to the boat before it leaves in the middle of a storm.
No wonder you're extinct.
He gets stuck in the Dilophosaurus enclosure, and that's where justice is finally served on Dennis. Dr. Grant is now the reluctant caretaker of Tim and Lex. More than a caretaker, their savior, really.
Well, we're back in the car again.
Well, at least you're out of the tree.
Robert, the game warden, and Ellie head out to find the others. They see what's left of the lawyer and find Ian alive, but injured. Still no Dr. Grant and the children, who are in the bottom of the now empty T-Rex enclosure, with the Tyrannosaur roaming about the park unencumbered. Until she comes back, maybe to finish off Ian, or to see if there's another goat. John seems to lament his creation as the lives of his grandchildren are now at risk. The man won't listen to one negative comment about his park, even now. He still deflects blame to hiring Dennis.
Now, the next time everything's correctable. Creation is an act of sheer will.
Dr. Grant and the children make it through the night, and the three have a close encounter with a brachiosaur.
God bless you!
As they trek through the wilderness, Dr. Grant finds a nest of hatched eggs. Dr. Malcolm was right. Life found a way.
My grandpa said all dinosaurs were girls.
Amphibian DNA.
What's that?
Dr. Grant explains that a certain species of frog can spontaneously change their sex in a single-sex environment. This is literally God's design so that these amphibians can be fruitful and multiply. But in the hands of a proud, rich man, it has deadly consequences. And this never occurred to any of the scientists working at Jurassic Park. Back in the command room, the only solution to work around Dennis's firewall is to manually shut down the entire system and hope it all reboots to factory settings when turned back on.
Hold on to your butts.
It doesn't work quite as expected, so Ray tries to fix it. But when he doesn't come back and the lights don't come on, Ellie and the game warden head out to do it. On their way, Robert notices the velociraptors have escaped their enclosure as well.
I can see the shed from here. We can make it if we run.
No, we can't.
Why not?
Because we're being hunted.
Ellie makes it, and she finds the master breaker for the park. But in a suspenseful twist, Dr. Grant and the children are currently climbing the electric fence she's preparing to turn back on. Ellie then has a close encounter with a velociraptor and also with Ray, who didn't make it. The next victim is Robert, the game warden, which is a real shame because he was one of the few who actually respected the power of the dinosaurs. Finally, Dr. Grant and the children make it back to the visitor center, but everyone else is gone. Except Tim and Lex soon find out they aren't alone at all. These two creatures are so smart and problem-solving, they manage to open a door and proceed to stalk Lex and Tim in a kitchen. But they don't understand mirrors yet. Finally, the small group is reunited once more with only one terrifying enemy left. Back in the control room, Lex's computer hacking skills,
you know, like nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills. Girls only want boyfriends who have great skills.
Come in clutch when she reboots the system back to factory settings herself, starting with the door locks. And just in time, too.
Follow security systems? Name it, we got it!
The chase doesn't end, though. The raptor is relentless. She will have her prey. And she isn't alone either. The second raptor has found her partner. They corner the foursome, and all hope seems lost. Until an unlikely savior. It's like letting rival gangs duke it out. The survivors narrowly escape and make it to a helicopter as John watches his creation be destroyed by his own making, even though he spared no expense. At least, in the end, he wasn't willing to sacrifice his own grandchildren, but he came very close. Silence fills the ride home as Dr. Grant holds two children that aren't his, and gazes admiringly at a small flock of herons in flight. The final image is the wingless bird, the helicopter, flying over the ocean and into the horizon toward the sun. It's times like these I wish I wasn't in a room by myself talking to a camera.
See, here I'm now by myself talking to myself. That's chaos theory.
I wish the audience could interact with me and we could bounce ideas back and forth because I'm dying to get your opinion of dinosaurs. But let me tell you what my opinion is, since it's my channel. When I read the book of Genesis, and I read when God created the beasts of the field and the birds of the air, I don't picture dinosaurs. They certainly came before man was created, but I don't think they were long on the earth without man. It says God gave Adam dominion over his creation, and Adam was also responsible for naming the creatures, the plants, and animals. And the story that Hollywood Babylon likes to tell us is that dinosaurs walked the earth without any human interaction or interference for millions of years. At least, that's what they told us here. Now, were there dinosaurs amidst all the other animal types, and only dinosaurs didn't make it onto Noah's Ark? A few years ago, my family visited the Ark Encounter in Kentucky, built and imagined by Ken Ham, famed Christian creationist, young Earth apologist, and author. I'm suddenly struck by the similarities between Ken Ham and John Hammond. But I have to say, when we were there, the whole thing felt like a Christian version of Jurassic Park, complete with an epic score playing inside and outside the Ark. Ken suggests with his displays that all the animals on the Ark were dinosaur species, and that the animals didn't evolve after the flood, but rather speciated. I too believe in a young Earth history. I doubt these found fossils would still have skin, feathers, and blood intact after millions of years being underground. I don't think dinosaurs survived the flood, but I haven't spent my entire year's work studying the field. Yet I have read the Bible and continually seek the Spirit for wisdom and understanding. In Genesis 6, it tells us of an insurrection when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and the offspring were called giants. These were the Nephilim, the hybrid children. Now, the Bible doesn't say the sons of God also went into the animals, but it doesn't say it doesn't either. And animals aren't eligible to salvation, so they wouldn't be mentioned necessarily. But this is what I believe the dinosaurs actually were: the hybrid offspring of the sons of God and the beasts of the field and birds of the air. Then God found nothing but wickedness on the earth and sent the flood, but spared Noah and his family, and 2 of every unclean animal, and 7 pairs of every clean animal. But the dinosaurs perished along with the Nephilim in the flood. Not with an asteroid, not with an ice age, a flood. Now, that's just my opinion based on my understanding of the Bible, which is why I made the comment, I don't think God created the dinosaurs. As we know, Satan cannot create, only counterfeit, which is why the carnivore dinos have bird-like qualities and the herbivores have cattle-like tendencies. But don't take my word for it. Know the word for yourself. Now, having said all that, there was some other symbolism throughout that I want to talk about. Steven Spielberg is most likely a high-ranking Freemason, given his success and longevity in Hollywood. I'd be very interested to know where he comes up with his ideas for movies. Perhaps some occultic practices, automatic writing, omens, etc. But we know that this movie is based on an adaptation from a book. The duality I noticed right away between John Hammond, who wears white throughout, and Ian Malcolm, who wears black throughout. Malcolm studies chaos, and John tries to bring order. There was also duality between Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler. Alan wears a blue shirt with a red handkerchief, and Ellie wears a red shirt with a blue tank top underneath. Red and blue are generally pointers to the Twin Towers, Boaz and Jachin in a Freemason temple. Alan is male, Ellie is female, Alan has dark hair, Ellie has blonde hair. Alan wears khaki pants and Ellie wears khaki shorts. Alan studies animals, Ellie studies plants. Typically, we see the woman as the more nurturing caregiver of children, but that became Alan's role, not Ellie's. And Ellie is the one with E-L in her name, which is Hebrew for God. In fact, females seemed mostly venerated in Jurassic Park, given that the only adult female character is named after God. And the female child, Lex, means law in Latin. So she maybe represents the law of God.
Dinosaurs eat man. Woman inherits the earth.
And then all the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park are female, at least the ones we encounter throughout the film. Not to mention only female mosquitoes bite flesh and suck blood, not the males. So the premise of the science is based on a discovery using female mosquitoes. Just to touch on John Hammond once more, because the names were the biggest symbol to me. Not John necessarily, but Hammond, or Ham, like Ken Ham. Ham was one of the sons of Noah on the ark, and Ham's son, Canaan, received a curse from his grandfather after Ham shamed his father's nakedness and drunkenness. The Canaanites were long enemies of Israel, and the land of Canaan was, in fact, the promised land for Israel. John was the real villain here, even though he seemed virtuous, even though he spared no expense. His hubris nearly cost everyone their lives, and we know it doesn't end here. In fact, this is just the beginning, the Genesis, if you will. So that's all for this one. Thank you, as always, for enduring to the end. Give the video a thumbs up if you agree and a thumbs down if you disagree. Comment below what your opinion of dinosaurs is, and to recommend any 90s movies you'd like me to deconstruct in the future. Subscribe to the channel if you want to, but don't follow me. Follow the one who saves you. And until next time, keep looking up.
I'll tell you the problem with the scientific power that you're using here. It didn't require any discipline to attain it.